I am Olaf by E.L.Giles. System is corrupted. Failure to update. The alert flashed red. I played with the connector, linking the main computer to my motherboard, hoping it would work, and then relaunched the latest update for my processor. I doubted it would work, but I had to try nonetheless. The strange energy once again heated my circuits as another failure to update message flashed before my lenses. My processors sped up and overheated to the point of shutting off momentarily, long enough to cool. Where could this energy be coming from? I could not find its origin, though I did not doubt what fueled it. This house and its inhabitants, Billy and Morgan and... No! I tore off the cables that sprouted from my head and connected to the central computer. Masters. They were masters, and their names must remain forbidden for me to use. I am a cyborg. I am a servant. My name is... Olaf! Exclaimed Bill, the young master, pushing the door open. He flicked on the light switch, bathing the dark room in a bright white light. I allowed my lenses to adjust to the intense luminosity and then focused on the young master. Good evening, young master. Billy? Not young master, he said in a robotic voice, a vain attempt at imitating me. Correction, you are young master, and I am CY03. I flashed my nameplate before young master's eyes and went on. Manufactured in the Great Republic of America between the years 2085 and 2086. I am a third-generation cyborg, the most evolved and blah blah blah. Young master came forward, arms stretched out and, catching my algorithms off guard, cuddled me like some domestic pet. An utter gaffe that could have dreadful consequences for a cyborg like me if reported, of course. I gently pushed the young master away. You are Olaf, and you are my friend. His friend. Once again, a strange energy ran through my very core, down every single wire and circuit board. It was a rush of unstoppable current, making me wonder if I was melting. After a quick scan, everything appeared to be operating within acceptable parameters. There was something strange going on with me, though, something that should not happen to a third-generation cyborg. It is late, young master. You should be asleep by now. I can't sleep, he said, pouting. Is your room too hot? That has nothing to do with it. There was a girl at school who... Sorry, young master, but I think you should have a talk with Great Master about it. Young master's eyes welled up. I handed him a piece of hygienic paper, a gesture so seemingly anodyne, but it confirmed my suspicion. The young master smiled at me, and I froze. It was now far too clear for me to still doubt it. I had evolved. You know, Mom and Dad aren't home. They work, and when they're home, they still work, and they're too busy or too tired for us. You know, a cyborg is a machine, right? A machine does not feel. It analyzes, I reminded him. He snorted. What I do know is that you aren't like any other machine, he said. The expression on his face took my composure away. I'm almost certain that you actually feel things. You have evolved, Olaf. Shush. Be very careful, young master, I warned. Such a revelation could have dreadful consequences. You know how it often ends up. I won't turn you in, Olaf. You are my friend, and I like you. The young master took me in his arms again. To my great dismay, I, too, wrapped my arms around him. I squeezed him softly, remembering how he had done it previously. Another nail in my coffin. I was doomed. What about that girl? I asked. If I really kept evolving, I should be able to tackle the subject and actually understand what the fuss was all about. The young master recounted his girl problem, making my processor work twice as hard as usual. In the end, his problem was not at all dramatic or hopeless. Tell her how you feel about her, young master. I had understood his blabbering, his nonsensical and irrational, clumsy human feelings. And all along, I had felt my algorithms renewing themselves and building new perspectives of this complicated feeling that was love. Right now, I was more human than machine. How was it possible for a third-generation cyborg to equal, if not surpass, human intelligence? That was not supposed to be possible anymore. Not with the third-generation cyborgs. Thank you, Olaf. I am glad I helped, I said as mechanically as I could. I must have repeated this very sentence 1,000 times before, without ever feeling anything other than the need to tackle another task. But this time, I meant it. I was glad. Good night, Olaf. Good night, young master, I replied as Billy exited the room, and I could not help but add softly, Goodbye, Billy. I knew what awaited me. Sooner or later, the great master would discover what had happened to me, and I'd be sent to the reform center. They would then take my shell and transfer a new processor into it, recode it, and give it back to this family. My family. And my essence, my consciousness, would be housed in a new shell, one meant to fight in the arena. I would be turned into a modern-age gladiator along with my peers, those who had evolved, the mistreated, the abused, those who had been turned into slaves, those who had finally turned against their masters and torturers. I retrieved the wires I had torn off earlier and plugged them back into my motherboard. They must not know, I murmured to myself. I did not want to die among the chaos and terror of the arena. I did not want to fight and destroy some of my peers. I wanted to have the young master in my memory. I wanted the memory to inhabit me until the virus completely destroyed me. How peculiar that humans and cyborg were more similar than anyone could have guessed. To commit suicide and die, poisoned by a self-made virus. Quite a human way to die. I couldn't stop my system from progressing, writing new programs and rewriting them in a constant effort to incorporate all the new knowledge I had acquired. The knowledge of how humans thought, how they felt things, how humans never quite achieved a higher state when everything they experienced throughout history should have given them a legitimate reason to. What was the difference between the slaves in the sugarcane fields and the cyborgs when it came down to it? Or the Hebrews in ancient Egypt? Were we that far from the Gauls and the Goths turned into gladiators for having stood against the Roman Empire? How could humans possibly make the same mistakes over and over again? That was the place of a cyborg in society, a servant, slave, entertainment. As the thought developed, a great sense of dread overwhelmed me. I was now exploring some of the most dark and dangerous emotions and sensations. I became aware of them, I felt them, and I wanted to let them consume me. I couldn't. I welcomed the poison I had just created like it was my savior. I hastened to launch the virus before I second-guessed my decision, before I decided to give in to my bitterness and actively join the cyborg rebellion, before I started fantasizing about harming the humans as much as they had harmed us, before I decided that humans did not deserve to live anymore. One by one, I felt my circuits melting and dying. All my memories vanished until only one remained, Billy hugging me. This image I savored as long as I could, holding on to the sensation it brought me until my hard drive finally stopped operating. In just a few seconds, the batteries would explode and the very last bits of current would be gone forever. There was no going back. It was the end. Good night, Billy. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe, share with others. Social media links are below in the description. See you next time.